Deanne and Stone, I want to go in depth with you about 9/11 and what this day means for you. Before we get to the art memorial,
Mhm.
Stone, I know you were in New York when 9/11 happened. Tell us about what you witnessed.
So I was out there for a training class for a company that I worked for, and the first plane went into the tower, and the second plane went into the tower, and it took me a little while for me to grasp the magnitude. And at the time, I was on a mountain rescue team for the LA County Sheriff's Department, nationally certified EMT, had urban search and rescue training, and I had my sheriff ID. So I was able to ultimately get an assignment to go down to Liberty State Park to help with the what was going to become a triage center. That didn't materialize, and then I ultimately went into Ground Zero on September 11th, the early morning of September 12th, to try to help with the rescue efforts. Because at the time, we thought between 40 and 80,000 people had been affected by this.
Wow. And Deanne, I know you said your daughter was in Washington, D.C. when this happened.
Yes, she was on the staff of Congressman David Bonnier from Michigan. And there were a few hours when we didn't know what was going on. And so it was a very, very worrying time.
Absolutely understandable. Can you believe 20 years since this eventful day that has changed so much of our country? Stone, tell me about what 9/11 means for you, and when you look back on this day, how it affected you.
It's a deeply personal event, getting to see the firefighters in Ground Zero the early morning of September 12th, and to see the emotion, to see the gentleman from New York PD on the police boat on the way over, who he didn't know at that time, but in all likelihood had lost his very best friend from childhood. It's a deeply emotional and moving event for me. And I think what was beautiful about the event, if there was any beauty in that event, it was how our country came together, and we focused on our commonalities, and we focused on all that was good, and we came back stronger as a nation, and we looked around and we identified, what do we have in common with our neighbors, and let's build on that. And so if anything good came from that, it was the heroism of the people who both tried to serve that day, or those who paid that ultimate sacrifice.
Certainly, yeah. And Deanne, would you like to add to that?
It was a very significant situation from the standpoint that how we think of our country and its position in the world changed. In those few moments, it was a very, very different proposition than what we had thought. And all of a sudden we realized that we were vulnerable to these kinds of attacks. And that's a kind of a chilling thought when you think about it.
So tomorrow on 9/11, there will be an art memorial unveiled. Tell us about that.
Well, it started with my predecessor on the commission, Sue Townsley, and at that point, the vice chair, Tom Rudolph, and Stone was involved. And so the idea was, okay, how can we do this? Because the fire department didn't really have any budget to, for artwork. And so that was how Captain Goddard came to us and, okay, how can we work this out? And as a commission, we recognize that, wow, this is a very, very powerful thing to do. And, and it was very important to get it done in time for the anniversary, which is tomorrow.
Stone, what do you hope people take away from this memorial when they visit it?
Peter, I appreciate that question. This was 9/11 was the worst terrorist attack in history, not in the history of the United States, but in history of our world. And so I hope that this is an opportunity for people to reflect upon the lives that were lost, and also reflect on what we stand for as a nation, and the fact that there are other individuals who want to harm our nation. And also, there are people that suit up every day to serve and protect their fellow community members, whether that is a policeman or a fireman or a doctor or a nurse or a physician's assistant, or even the the last responder, and those are people who work in the mortuary industry, who help people, the family members, grieve losses. And so my hope is that when people take a look at that memorial, they realize the lives that were impacted that day, and the people that are there in their community who care for them and support them.
Well, I think the location for the memorial is also fitting. Fire station in Cathedral City.
It certainly is. Yes, and that was something that the Art Commission and the fire department, that was just the natural place for it. So it is, and it's stunning too. When you see it, it's the height, the dimensions, they're all to scale. The artist Goddard did an exceptional job.
And Deanne, for folks who would like to attend tomorrow, what time and what should they know?
Okay. Well, the fire station is near the southern end of Date Palm Drive, and it's a new fire station. And the ceremony begins at 8:15 tomorrow morning, and it goes for approximately half an hour. So it's not a long ceremony, but the end of it is a moment of silence at 8:46.
All right, Deanne and Stone, thank you so much for joining us. This will certainly be a very poignant memorial. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having us.